This production is sponsored by The Good Estate Agent. With an average turnaround time of 3 weeks, if you want your house sold quickly, then contact Stefan today on 01942 356 577. Quote Super League Raw for 33% off. So, good afternoon and welcome to the Captain's Run round number 18 of the Betfred Super League. With me and Stef this evening is Team Talk member and proud Leeds Rhinos fan, Marc Hill. Good evening, Marc.
Good evening, how are we doing?
I'm very, very well indeed, my friend. Very, very well indeed. So, of course, as is usual here on the Captain's Run, we're going to be going through all 6 games. We'll give you a little bit of a build-up to each one, taking you pretty close to the Sky Sports presentation this evening of the big one at the MKM Stadium, where, of course, Wakefield Trinity are the hosts. Great to see so many of you already joining us. A.D. Simpson, thanks for the putting the hand up, mate. You will be on very, very soon. Greg Roach is with us as always. Michael Greenaway. Good evening, Michael. That's a new one on me. Good to see you. Up the Trin, says Mike. Clearly looking forward to tonight's game. Before we get going on the games, boys, I teed you up to this. The Chris Chester Castleford Tigers pre-match press conference. Now, we don't do gutter. We don't do clickbait, but I have to call what I see. I saw a director of rugby league that didn't sound like he'd been consulted, that wasn't sure that his recommendations for the head coach may not be taken on board. A sporting director who's been asked to take charge of the club in the interim, but can't wait for that to end, and was very, very down the line that he didn't want it, and was putting a lot of ownership and responsibility on his current coaching staff that are there. I felt Chris looked very uncomfortable, Steph. You know the man well. Your thoughts?
Obviously been a really tough week for him, and I don't think any person enjoys relieving somebody of the position. So I totally get why, he's under a lot of pressure, and obviously he's got to organise those coaching staff now. So it's another thing that's been added to his, already very busy role there with recruitment and everything. So I thought it was very interesting. I was very keen to point out that he didn't want the head coach's job. I think that was to just clarify and kill any rumours, speculation of that going forward. Conversations I'd had with him at Lee, I knew he didn't want a head coach's job going forward. He's really happy in a director of rugby role, so I kind of knew that anyway. I think the most interesting part for me was when he said that he didn't want to do it. So whether that was he meant I didn't want to get rid of him, or he didn't want to have to be the person who got rid of him, you could obviously that's up for debate in terms of what he meant by that. But also the very keen to emphasise it was the board's decision to get rid of him, to get rid of Maguire, not his. So again, whether I don't know if that's controversial with the board or whatever. But from a positive point of view, what I took out of it was they seem to have signed 7 new players, I think he alluded to, some of which will be NRL players. So that's a real positive for Cass going forward. And he's also dropping hints about an announcement, whether that's to do with stadium development or something like that. There seemed to be something like that in that as well. So there was a mixture of positive news in there, but it did look like he didn't look like the Chris Chester that I knew at League today. He did look a bit downbeat, which is surprising in a way, considering those positives which he mentioned.
Well, I mean, look, as a director of rugby, Marc will bring you in. He's got to be front and centre on operations rugby. I mean, I appreciate there's owners and they want to bang for the buck, but they put Chris Chester in a position to organise and to orchestrate the rugby league football side of the business. And what I got from it, and I might be wrong, but what I got from it was, you'll be told what we're doing. That's what appeared to come out. And I think, just quickly picking up on what some of the Steph said, Marc.
Don't worry. you go.
Here we go again. It's a Thursday night. Don't know what goes on at our end at Thursday night. But from a Chris Chester perspective, I think it is quite controversial when a coach. We've seen Paul Rowley. Let's use Paul Rowley, Marc, as an example. Paul Rowley this year. We all know that Paul Rowley has been put in a really bad position, but actually he's handled it really well, and he has talked as if he's a part of the decision-making process, as part of the new team moving forward. He's been very, very clinical with his words. Chris Chester almost was distancing himself from his employers.
Yeah,
now that for me is dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting part for me in the whole interview is when he says, I got called into a board meeting, and he almost like alluded to like he disagreed with the decision because of how short a time Danny Maguire's actually been in post. I mean, there were massive calls when Craig Lingard was sacked to say, hold on, he hadn't been given enough time. He had this 3-year plan. He came on Super League Raw to discuss his plan and stuff. And then all of a sudden, I think it was the week after, it was really quick after that, he was sacked out of the job, and then Magsy was in. And then all of a sudden, I mean, if you look at Castleford, they have been improving week on week. I mean, they took Wigan to the last few minutes really the other week. And then all of a sudden, no one after last week's result, nobody said, oh, Magsy needs to go. And then all of a sudden he's out the door. So I think Chris Chester was really disappointed with that decision. And I think he was a little bit frustrated that it had come so quickly. And one of the things he said is that new directors had come in and new board members. And I think he completely disagrees with what their vision is compared to what he got told the vision was when he joined Castleford to take that role on.
But that's an important point, Steph. I mean, it does appear from the outside looking in with the words. I mean, I'm a great, I like to read body language and tone and all that. It just didn't look and sound and feel right. When Chris Chester was brought in, I would suggest that the vision and the direction and the voices have changed. Is Chris happy with that? I don't know. But what I do know is he looked incredibly uncomfortable. Final thoughts from you, Steph. You know them, man.
My final thoughts are I would be very, very, very worried if I was a Castleford fan at the moment, because all I've seen from Jepson and the people that have come in, and I know Aidan Simpson's going to absolutely have stinkers with me about this now, which is entitled to do, but knee-jerk reactions, getting rid of Lingard, getting rid of Maguire after a few bad losses, even though they had made improvement, nearly beat Wigan the week before. That to me sounds like a panic board who want instant success. They're trying to fix things instantly rather than build for the future. And that kind of way of doing things will result in failure. It's as simple as that. You've got to have a long-term vision. You've got to get the right people in. And then I would question, they'll say whether the right person wasn't in. Well, that's fine, but they recruited him. They were the one who displaced Lingard and put Maguire in. So
at the risk of interrupting you, mate, in the press conference, JD did ask Chris Chester that only a few weeks ago, Martin Jepson said, with time, Danny Maguire will prove he's the right appointment.
Absolutely.
And Chris Chester distanced himself from that. He said that's for Martin to answer, not me. But again, it backs up your point. How quick and how instant has this decision been by new people? I mean, it's almost like, right, I'm giving you a wedge of money and I want to make me mark. You're sacking your coach.
Absolutely, and it's this knee-jerk reaction, and you can say Jepson's got deep pockets. Brilliant. You can have all the money in the world. That doesn't mean you're a good director and a board member and how to run a rugby league club successfully. But it's got to be more than that. You've got to have the passion. And I'm not saying Jepson hasn't got passion. I don't know the guy. Cas fans will know it better. But for me, this very much screams of reading Chris's body language today, and I'm not putting words in his mouth. I don't know, but it seems to me like things have changed, and he looked like a man that had made a terrible decision.
Well, and that is the point. And look, we pride ourselves here on Super League Raw. We don't do the clickbait thing. But if somebody's going to put themselves on camera, and speak like that, that's fair game for me, because we're actually talking about what we saw. And what we saw was exactly that, Steph. We saw a man who was very uncomfortable, who'd been shown, clearly don't want to be a head coach. I got the feeling he feels a bit puppet on a string. And Chris Chester has done too good a job at Lee to now be dictated to as to what a director of rugby role is. He's very clear on what that is because he's done it well at Lee. He's going to be allowed to do it. And
now, on top of all that stuff that he was doing in terms of rebuilding Castleford, that was already going to be a mammoth job for Chris Chester. He's now been asked by the board to become a head coach until the end of the season, on top of everything else. It's pressure he didn't want. It's media attention that he didn't want. He doesn't want to be going out doing the interviews after games and stuff. I know for a fact that's not what he wants, and he said that himself today. So this is why I'm saying he looked like a man that was thinking, have I done the right thing here? And that might not be the case, but that's just the way it looked to me when he was on camera today.
Yeah, and we'll leave it there. I think it's right that we comment on it because, like I say, we're also, as a community here at Super League Raw, health, wealth, and well-being, and he looked a shadow of Chris Chester. It's a concern for him. It's a concern for Castleford fans, and for any Castleford fan to completely ignore what the eyes saw today. I don't think you can. I think it's very concerning times. And of course, Marc, they go to Salford this coming weekend. I'll put Stef in a better place than me. They come up against Salford this weekend. Now, we actually said, based on Salford's performance against Warrington, Marc, that perhaps Salford might have fancied this one. I mean, again, we said also on Weekly, Marc, that, when a new coach comes in, often it means, especially if it's the director of rugby, you get a reaction. I'll be honest with you, Chrissy's press conference wouldn't have sparked a reaction from me. If anything, I'd be feeling down in the dumps like Chris. So is this an opportunity for Salford, Marc?
Yeah, I mean, going back to that reaction thing, normally when a coach goes out, the players will want to prove something about the coach that they had, like if they disagreed with him, they'll put in a really good performance to show that it was the coach that was the issue. With Castleford Tigers, although there's rumours about, I don't think they're going to do that because with it being such a shock announcement. And I think I was talking to Matty Timms earlier and he was saying some players are coming back for Salford as well. So I think Salford have got a really good shout at this game. Just basically rubbing salt in the wound to Castleford, who, they've had a lot of media. Well, they're going to have a lot of more media attention, and it's might just get on top of them a little bit. It might just take pressure off.
Well, I mean, it has to have, in terms of pre-game preparation, it's got to have unsettled Castleford at a time when they didn't need the unsettlement. Stef, what we do know, we don't know a lot about Salford, of course. The teams haven't been announced yet, but of course, Danny Richardson has been recalled by KR. But Oliver Russell has been brought in on loan from Wakefield Trinity. And Oliver Russell has got to really put a shift in for me because he's now right down the pecking order again at Wake. He went there with the number 7 shirt. Lino's been exceptional. Jowett's doing a job at 6. Russell's got to go and get some game time. And if he wants to cement himself back in the good favours of Darryl Powell, he's got to perform for Paul Rowley, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. And I'm quite excited for him going to Salford. I think it could be a really good move. I think he'll react well under Paul Rowley's coaching, and Salford put in a really decent shift last week against Warrington. Warrington weren't at the best. We know that, but you've got to give credit a bit to Salford how they played in that game as well. There's some points they look quite dangerous. So if Cass go there, with any navel gazing or feeling sorry for themselves, Salford are more than capable of winning this match. We saw that earlier in the season when they beat Huddersfield. Obviously, they still had a few of their players then. But on paper, they're not a bad side, Salford. And he's just waiting for this kind of opportunity. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Salford win this game.
Yeah, Paul Emerson, good evening to you. Great that you're there on Facebook. Can you move over to YouTube and subscribe and press the little bell? That way you get a reminder when we go live. We've got loads of great live shows here at Super League Raw. Welcome to the family. Please go over to YouTube, subscribe and ring that bell so that you get announcements when we go live. We've got many a live show here at Super League Raw. Great to have you coming here this evening, Paul. Let us know in the chat who you support. Right, Salford, they've won the last 4 home games against the Tigers. Hey, go on, Matty Timms. Get giddy, son. The Tigers' last away win at the Red Devils was a 28-18 win back on the 30th of April 2021. So the record books looking pretty good. That said, of course, this season they have met each other twice, both at the Jungle. Castleford 22-14 winners in round 4 and 48-16 winners in round 11. It's fair to say Castleford are thanking the lucky stars for Salford this year. Imagine had those results not come in, maybe Danny would have gone a little bit sooner. It's going to be an interesting game. Again, for all probably the wrong reasons, an intriguing one to watch on Sunday, gentlemen. And certainly one that we'll be discussing in full on the Final Whistle podcast this Sunday, available from 11 p.m. and well in time for your trip to work on Monday morning. The Final Whistle available on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. It looks like it's a Tiger, Paul. Good to have you, Paul. Like I say, get yourself over to our YouTube channel, mate. We really appreciate it. Marc, obviously we had a chat in weekly about our predictions for this game. What's your prediction for this game?
I think Salford are going to get one here. I think it's going to be 1-8 Salford. Just because they're playing at home and with all the media coverage, I think it might just rattle Cass a little bit too much.
Yeah, you're going the way Stef. Stef's gone 1-8. I actually went Cass 1-8. I'm probably going to leave it there. Did I go Cass or did I go Salford? Looks like I changed my mind. I'll have to check back on the official footage on that one. I'll tell you what, let's go Salford. We'll go Salford. Stef did it last week, so I'll do it this week. Salford 1-8 is where I'm going on that one. The members went Tigers 9-17. They might be regretting that one now. Joel went Salford 1-8 as well. Very best wishes of always to our Red Devils followers. Right, let's just remind ourselves. Obviously, that is the bottom two. The bottom two of the bottom three going head to head. The Tigers and the Red Devils. This is the league table, of course. Just to remind everybody before we get into the detail of some wonderful, wonderful fixtures that are on the way in round number 18. The Robins only a 4-point lead. It could have been 6 had it not been for Marc's Leeds Rhinos being in exceptional form. The Rhino, I mean, it's incredible. We'll get to Leeds in a minute, but just bear this in mind, Marc. This weekend, you could either finish second or potentially you could finish second. You could stay in third, or you could drop behind Saints. It's multiple positions that you could finish this weekend. They say that you can't go second. No, you can't go second. No, you could go joint second. My apologies, joint second, but you can be leapfrogged by Saints this weekend, which is quite interesting. Cracking game on the horizon there. Leopards, of course, great win against Wigan. Can they go? I said this to Stef. Can they go back to back? I mean, Stef's very, very chipper that they're off everybody's radar, the Leopards. If they were to beat KR and Wigan 2 weeks running, they will be right back on the radar. Don't worry about that. Forget telescopes at the moon. They'll all be on the LSV. There's a constellation of quality appearing there anytime soon. But anyway, let's move through it. Let's get through it. These are the fixtures. Let's just confirm what they are. Brilliant game tonight at the MKM Stadium. Can Trinity go there and get a win? Can Hull FC get their first home win of the season? Compelling. The Giants, can they get redemption, a bit of revenge for that absolute steal from the Wigan Warriors at Dewsbury? That's going to be interesting. Saints, of course, go to Henley. Great game, that one. Another brilliant game on Saturday, deserving of being on BBC Two, but no, we'll put one of the greatest games on the red button where nobody can see it. Again, you just couldn't write it, folks. The Dragons host the Wolves, and of course, we've already done Salford against Castleford. So let's get straight to it. Let's start off with this one, and as we always do here on the Captain's Run, let's get into a little bit of detail before we bring the boys in. As you can see, 45-17 in FC's favour in the history of Super League. 3-2 the last 5 meetings between these two sides. The form, well, both have won 2 out of the last 5. Of course, Wakey getting a win in sparkling form against Catalan. Quality, absolute quality. That was. They scored more points than FC, but the defence is very, very similar. So too is the tackle efficiency. Better conversion rate from Mr. Jowett. Many congratulations to him. He's kicking really, really well. Not much in it as well when it comes to errors and penalties. They haven't actually drawn as well once in the history of Super League, these two sides. In the just for your information, the last they're on a 3-game winning streak, RFC, against Wakefield Trinity. The last Wakey win was in 2022, round 24, and it was a 26-18 win at the MKM for Wakey. So it's 3 years ago, FC on a 3-game winning streak. Don't know about you, Mr. Hill. I'm really looking forward to this. more so to see Wakey again than FC. I think Wakey are just playing a sparkling brand of rugby, and like I keep saying, they're everybody's guilty pleasure, Marc.
Yeah, Wakefield have done really well this year, and they've earned a lot of fans this year with the way they're performing. If I'm truly honest, Hull FC, I think their home record at the moment isn't sparkling at all. So there will be an element that wants to turn that over. But Wakey don't lay down for anybody. They beat Leeds in round 1, for example, and they've been hovering around the 6th, 7th place. So I'm hoping, I mean, to be honest, I think it'll be a Wakey win. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very, very interesting game. And with the weather tonight as well, which is absolutely scorching hot, I think it's going to be an interesting fixture.
Fitness will certainly play a part. There's no doubt about that. I mean, just picking up on Marc's point there, Stef, there is, of course, the old saying. I mean, if we're going to talk about Hull FC's home form, the old saying of you can't polish a turd, but you can put glitter on it. Well, they've run out of glitter as well. I mean, it really is. It's dire, absolutely dire. Considering how well they were playing at the start of the season, it's unbelievable that FC have still to get a home win this year.
Yeah, well, I think when you say, and apologies, Matt Timmins, but when you say Salford have won more home games than FC have, I think that tells you everything, doesn't it? It's crazy.
And good night to all of our black and white supporters.
Yeah. But yeah, incredible. You'd never believe it if someone said that FC wouldn't win a home game in 12 months. It's just crazy. But the worst thing is I don't think they're going to get the win tonight either. I think they're going against one of the best informed sides in the comp at the moment. When they're on the day, Wakefield, their attack is phenomenal, and they can defend as well. So are they getting any players back as well? Because they're due to get some players back, Wakefield, aren't they?
No, still not. It's pretty much the same as what they had. Of course, Ollie Russell we said this on Weekly, Ollie Russell was there, but of course now he's gone to Salford. And I think that's good for Ollie. I think it's a good move for Ollie. I think it's a good move for Salford as well. He's a good lad, Ollie Russell. And I think that, there's definitely a Super League player in there. He just needs, 1, fitness, 2, a sustained run. Remember when we did in combo with Ollie, and he had that sustained run in season 22 when Huddersfield very nearly won the Challenge Cup. His stats, his performances that season were incredible for Huddersfield. He's just never got going since, which is such a real shame. So I think that's good news for Ollie, no doubt about it. Right, let's pick out some key battles, because of course we spoke about this at length in Weekly. We looked at the squads and we picked it out. First and foremost, Marc, I'm going to bring you back in as our very special guest this evening, Mr. Rourke. 2 more years for Josh, 2027. Great bit of business this by Darryl Powell. Very interesting. I mean, for only a 44% win ratio, that's actually 33% if you count the games that he started off the bench. Games where he started at fullback, it's 44, which he's not great. But we've got to remember, Josh, for me, is still very much work in progress. If you forget the win percentage, though, Marc, 13 appearances, they're good statistics from a lad that has got predominantly a championship background, played for London last year, has been a bit in and out as well for Wakey, so he's not really got that run of games. Those stats are still very, very good. I think this is an exceptional piece of business from Darryl Powell. Would you agree, mate?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 13 appearances with 761 metres made. That's someone who you definitely want on your team, and only 6 errors as well, which is, they are fantastic stats for it. I think with him signed in 2 years as well, it's going to settle his head a little bit. So he's going to concentrate on Wakefield a lot more. He doesn't have to worry about other teams or anything. He can just put his heart and soul into Wakefield and probably move forward. So it'll probably improve them stats over the next few games as well.
Absolutely. Simo in the chat, rightly so. We do need a Trin member. Maybe Neil Young is that member. We need a Trin member that will come on the Final Whistle podcast. One of the only teams that aren't represented on the Final Whistle podcast, and it does surprise us, that Steph, because you'd have thought that the Trin fans would be hurrying to get a Super League Royal membership to shout, from the rooftops on the Final Whistle, such as their team's performances this year.
Absolutely, they've had plenty of flowers off us so far this season. But in Simo's right. We do need all clubs represented. I'd love a Catalan supporter to be on there, as well. That'd be fantastic. But interesting stats there for Rourke, and that win rate especially. What I'd probably say to that is how many of those was Max Jowett not playing in, that he was replacing Max Jowett, because obviously if you take Max out of that side, that has a massive impact on the way Wakefield play and stuff. So I suspect most of those losses came when Max wasn't actually playing. So, or the other ones is how many of those were the close games where they only lost by a point and a drop goal or whatever. So,
to be fair to him, mate, some of those losses were to the likes of Lee, to the likes of Hull KR. So it's not like they were quality opposition, the vast majority of them as well. And like I say, he was a bit in and out as well. And it's not Josh's fault he lost the games, as the stats show. I mean, he played his part in those games. I think it's a great bit of business for Darryl Powell and everybody involved down there at Wakefield. Right, enough about Josh. Many congratulations to Josh on his contract. Let's talk about tonight's game. And as always, I try and pick out a few people to look at. And for me tonight, it has to be the middle unit for this game. Has to be. And it's a bit of a confusing slide, this, so allow me to walk you through it. So for Knight and for SASA, Knight's stats are on the left, SASA's are on the right, and for McMeekin and Firetilly, McMeekin's is on the left, Firetilly's is on the right. Hopefully that makes sense to people. But as you can see, SASA 7 tries, none yet for Knight, 10 shared between Firetilly and Mike McMeekin. The bust, I mean, it's frightening. Herman SASA has done more tackle busts than nearly all the other three put together, which is just unbelievable, quite frankly. You look at the breaks again, SASA 8 on his own, none for Knight, 10 for McMeekin and Firetilly combined. All of them do good work in defence. Actually surprised me this when I put it together. Firetilly averages the least of the tackles in a game at 18, albeit he has got the second best tackle efficiency at 94%. But you'd have to say his middle unit forwards, they're decent tackle efficiencies. McMeekin at 95 is superb. SASA 93, superb. So we know all of these boys not only put in a good shift going forward, but put a good shift in as well in defence. Carries, very, very similar. All of them just in double digits or more. But look at the runs. That's where maybe it's advantage Wakefield Trinity tonight, Mark. I mean, we know that Herman, as it says there at the top, his busts and his breaks, that's his danger. We know that. We know he likes, like Firetilly, they're both on 7 apiece, those little runs near the line, albeit, of course, Firetilly scored that worldie from halfway. But maybe, Mark, the bottom stat of the meters, that the combined meters of Firetilly and McMeekin, and also I think the engines of those two players, that could be where tonight he's won and lost over the FC2.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're making more meters, you're getting closer to that in goal zone, aren't you? So it's that is a massive stat, and I think with recent performances as well, SASA had a really good start to the season, and then he's kind of just tapered off a little bit. Not saying he's still a fantastic player, but he just hasn't got that same impact as what he had. So is he going to turn that round? I don't think he'll turn it round tonight. I think he will turn it round at some point. But yeah, I think, as I say, the meters are absolutely clinical for tonight's game, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at that, Stef, all four of them, they're good numbers. They are good numbers, there's no question about that. In McMeekin and SAS, in fact, probably McMeekin, SAS and Firetilly, would you have those three players absolutely in the conversation at this time for Dream Team?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I think I agree with Mark a little bit in terms of SASA started like a house on fire, had a bit of a dip in form, but does seem to be coming back again now, which is great for FC. But Mike McMeekin's been like a new signing, hasn't he? A new player. He's been phenomenal for Wakefield, and for Tilly, I think, had probably a similar impact as what Tom Amone did at Lee. So some brilliant players on the screen there, and will be in the talking points for when it comes to Dream Team.
Absolutely. On weekly, of course, we had a look at who we fancied in this particular game. Greg went the Trin 9-17. So did I. Steph, I think I'm right in saying that you went the Trin by 18 plus.
Yeah.
You really fancy the Trin in this one. The members were going the Trin 9-17. Joel was going 1-8. The Trin, he saw it closer. Marc, what say you, my friend, as our esteemed guest?
I think it'll be Wakey 9-17.
Oh dear, I'm getting pelters here. It could be worse, Nick. If you've only just joined Super League Raw, better to be called Nick as opposed to Neil, because Stef on the screen was once called Stephanie, and look at him now, he's on the panel. He's never held it against me. But yes, Nick Young, it would be marvellous if you do that QR code, become on board as a 6 Again member, and maybe join us this Sunday for the Final Whistle podcast, the first ever Wakefield Trinity representative on the Final Whistle. It'd be marvellous to have your company. Boys, I don't know about you. There's nothing like Thursday night rugby league. Really looking forward to this game in an hour and a half's time. And of course, very, very shortly, we will probably get some team news on this one as well that we might dip back into before we go off air. Right, let's now move across to the Brick Community Stadium on Friday evening. As of course, before I do, I forget this every week, Steph. I forget every week. Brad Fash, 200 career appearances if he plays for them tonight. Liam Knight, 100th career appearance. Zach Hardacre, 3 points. Could do this for 1,000 in Super League. That's a nice milestone for him. Tom Briscoe needs to try to move ahead of Leon Price on the list of it. He'd go to 9th. In the all-time try scorers. He also needs one more try for 100 for FC. And Tom Johnstone, if he gets 2 tries this evening, it'll be 100 for Wakefield Trinity. So some nice milestones there for the players. Right, back to Wigan against Huddersfield. Huddersfield Giants fans, shut your ears now. Wigan have won their last 7 home meetings with Huddersfield, albeit you did make them sweat earlier in the season at their place. Let's not forget that. They battered you second half, of course. But first half, you were, dare I say it, Wakefield-esque against Catalan. Can you do that again? And of course, they pickpocketed you. Terrible. By all accounts, the amount of crime that was reported in Dewsbury that Sunday, they didn't know what to do, did the Yorkshire police. They thought what was going on. There was pickpockets being put on 999 like you wouldn't believe it. Every one of them was cherry and white and they rolled in pies. Unbelievable. Let's be crystal on that. Hopefully you get my gist. But yeah, the Giants, they want revenge. The Giants' last away win, though, not good reading this. 2019, boys, a 14-6 win on the 8th of March. Wigan's Jai Field, one for Stef this, has scored a try in each of the last 3 meetings with Huddersfield. They've also drawn twice in their history. 45-17 in Wigan's favour. 5-0 the last 5. Wakefield, of course, that's completely wrong. The form, forget that. I've obviously not updated that. That whole line, forget about it. That is completely inaccurate. Everything else is fine. Wigan 508 points to 212 points against 223 to 468. Surprisingly, the tackle efficiency only 1.7% in it. Huddersfield haven't, they're just suffering because other teams are executing really well, but the tackle efficiency is pretty good, to be fair to him. Conversions is absolutely even. No dramas there. And errors similar, albeit penalties, Marc. Huddersfield, 111 penalties conceded this year to 77 Wigan. One thing we do know, you've got to be squeaky clean, haven't you, when you go up against Wigan? And that's something that Huddersfield are going to have to be very good at on Friday night.
Yeah, definitely. I think there is going to be a lot to say about that loss at Dewsbury. And I think Huddersfield are going to come out and they're going to have a little bit of a bee in the bonnet, I think. And they need to have a little bit of a bee in the bonnet to beat Wigan. Wigan are underneath the cosh a little bit because of recent form. I don't think they've been fantastic as late, and they have dropped a few points as well. So, yeah, I think this is actually a more interesting game than what it looks like if you were just to look at the table. I think Huddersfield are really going to push them to the limit, but I think Wigan, as we've said many times before, big teams know how to win big games, and I'm not saying it's a massive. Well, it is a big game, but they know how to win. So yeah, it's going to be definitely an interesting game. I want to watch this one personally.
Yeah, it should be. In terms of Wigan, they're 3 out of the last 5. Of course, they lost against Wakey 3 rounds back, and of course lost at the weekend against Leigh. As for Huddersfield, they lost They lost against Lee, they lost against Wigan, they beat Warrington, lost to Catalan 32-0, and then bounced back against Castleford last week. That's the form between these two sides at this moment in time. Yeah, I mean, like I say, Huddersfield, everything points to a Wigan win, but they can get a lot of confidence from how they handled Dewsbury. Really good, albeit what we do know about Wigan is that Oliver Wilson will not be playing, and that's a massive blow, Mark, isn't it? We said that Ollie Wilson really, for us, should have been in the conversation for that 32-man meet-up squad. He's been playing that well for Huddersfield. He was overlooked, and he's going to be a really bad miss for him at the Brick tomorrow night.
Yeah, a massive. It's just consistency for him as well, isn't it, without the players? But yeah, I think it'll be a massive miss, Ollie Wilson, definitely.
Yeah, and you know, we'd expect Zach Eckersley back, wouldn't we? I mean, I don't know which one it's going to be, whether it be Miskey or Marshall, probably Miskey, but we would expect Zach Eckersley back, Mark, surely.
Yeah, we should see him, definitely. Yeah, that's all I can say about that. Sorry, I'm not au fait with it as much as you are with names as such, Dave. So
fair enough. Well, I'll go to Stef, because Stef, we debated this on Weekly. Does Christian Wade get a look in for this one?
Yeah, if I was Matty Pete, I think this is probably one of the best opportunities he's going to get to see what they've got in him. If they're not going to play him, what was the point in signing him? You know, in terms of he's only on a short-term deal there. I think for 5 months it was till the end of the season. So yeah, you'd think this would be the one where they do try him out. Whether Matty Pete does that or not, it's another thing. I think Eckersley should definitely come in. I'd replace both wingers off the back of the league performance. Marshall's clearly not fit, so I'd put Eckersley in on that side and Wade on the other.
Yeah, they're talking there in terms of the chat. Of course, Farriman's not in there. You know, Farriman is not in the squad. He's injured, which is a big blow for Wigan, let's be honest. And, you know, there's a bit of talk that maybe Kieran will go into 6. Here's one from left field, Mark. Do you put Cruz leaving in to the halves? Because I think Cruz has got the game to go into the halves. Could that be an option? Of course, they've got Tom Forber there on the bench that can deputise as a replacement 9. Would that be something? I mean, you saw Cruz when he was at Leeds. I think Cruz could slot in there.
Yeah, I think Cruz controlled it quite well as well when he was at 9 at Leeds. So he's definitely got the skill set for it. So yeah, why not mix it up? Why not put Cruz leaving in that position? I personally think it's Cruz's position, if I'm quite honest with you. As I say, when he was at Leeds, there was quite a lot of control. I think we went to the final with him as well, I think. So yeah, I think definitely Cruz at 9.
Simon Shaw convinced it's going to be Kieran at 6 and Zach Eckersley at 3. Just throwing it out there, Steph. Do you think Cruz Leemans has got the skills to slot in at halfback and do a job?
Do a job, whether it's the right place to put him. I personally wouldn't. I think Kieran's not a bad shout. To be fair, he's shown he can play 6 before. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting call what they do, Wigan. And I think the main one for me is Ollie Wilson not playing for Huddersfield. I think that could be the, I think it might be a close game anyway. But that could be the one that could have, really tested the Warriors and their middles. So yeah, going to be a very interesting game. And I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen in this one.
Right, breaking news here on Captain's Run. The man, Adam Kieran, that we've just been speaking about, a 3-year contract to remain at the Wigan Warriors, Mark. 3 years, Adam Kieran to remain a cherry and white until 2028. I think he's improved this year. I thought he was pretty hit and miss in 24, but I think 25, he's looked the part and he's been rewarded with a 3-year contract. What's your initial reaction on that?
Yeah, that's fantastic for Wigan. Again, he's just settling down, and I think he's 5 this year personally. So yeah, I think that's again. I'll say it again, that consistency. They don't have to think about where they're going to be next year or anything. So to sign a long-term contract like 3 years, it's really good for Kieran.
Yeah, your comment on that, Steph?
Yeah, he was at the beginning of the season. I said, obviously with Wigan's recruitment and not replacing anybody, I thought he was probably the one that they could have looked to replace next season. But he has stepped up, and I thought defensively he was superb against Lee at the weekend. He put some massive shots in on like Frankie Alton and players like that. So I thought he had a pretty solid game, and he's definitely up to his game this year, and also his kickings very good as well. So. Yeah, really, really good for him and for Wigan to get him signed up to a 3-year deal. Forbes also signed a 5-year deal, I think,
5 years.
till 2030. So Wigan getting some business done this evening.
They are indeed, but they're controversial again. Perhaps is this the 10 quota spot again? Would Kieran have been retained had it remained at 6? Question mark. But I think what we're going to see, Roderick Ty, case in point at Warrington Wolves,
Seven quotas, right?
Sorry, 7, yeah, but it's going to 10. So I'd expect Roderick Ty at Warrington. That'll probably happen. I would have thought now going up to 10. On that point, Mark, don't know if you've seen Ian Blease's press conference this week, but Leeds came out and said they are opposed to 10. They don't want 10. He said it's too early and it's not the right time. What were your thoughts on your head of rugby coming out with that one?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think 10 quota spots, you're thinking of the bigger teams with more money would probably benefit from that. So, you'd imagine Leeds would say that. But I think Ian Blease, the way they said it, it just feels like he wants to improve the game, not get the quota spots. So I think it's interesting. It's interesting what Ian Blease has said. I have listened to it, and I've got a lot to think about it yet.
Clearly. I mean, Stef, I think it's interesting. It has divided opinion. You're in the 4 column. I know that we spoke about it on Weekly, but it is interesting that somebody, a very high-profile club at Leeds, has come out and said, no, they believe it's too early and actually they want to develop the pathways. And it's the opposing view to yours, and it's an interesting debate, mate. This will rumble on, won't it?
It's very interesting, mainly for the fact that Leeds can't sign anybody because they're fully up on salary cap. So would he be that opposed to it if they had room on the cap and they could bring in a few brilliant Australian players to win in the grand final? I don't think he'd be that opposed to it then. So yeah, it's funny that the teams that won't be able to take advantage maybe of the 10 quota are against it. Who'd have thought it?
Well, Sam Lazzone's created a bit of space, but anyway, that's by the by. Let's get back.
That day, sorry, it's an important. The important thing about that is why Leeds fans should be a bit concerned is that he was basically saying they couldn't afford to keep Lassone. So that just shows you where they are in the cap, and they couldn't actually reach out enough to keep him. So that goes hand in hand with those comments what I just made.
Well, hang on. I'm going to even this up a little bit because we've given Lee a lot of praise for having values on players that they don't want to go to. And yet again, what I deemed from that was that Hull FC had given him an offer that they just weren't prepared to go anywhere near.
No, I disagree. If you listen to what Blease said, he didn't say that. Blease said that they couldn't match it. They couldn't match it. No, they didn't want to match it, or they weren't going to go to that amount. It was that they physically couldn't do it. So I think that's a completely different situation. Okay, they would have kept Lassone if they could have.
We'll agree to disagree. I just think.
Watch it again.
I'm not saying he's not. It's interpretation. I get that, but for me personally, there's a value as well. Leeds are they're going to be ins and outs at Leeds. So for me, I think the money would have been there, but they know what business they're doing.
Yeah, and they knew that's the re-signing and stuff.
I just think for me, we saw it with Asiati. It might fall into that category. Who knows? Anyway, back to the game on Friday. This is going to be surprising, but I had to do it. The noise coming out of the brick where Harry Smith's concerned. What is going on, Wigan Warriors fans? What is going on? So I thought, go on, point to prove. Harry's come under so much criticism. And if you remember, it was in this fixture at the brick community that Harry Smith came out in the second half and destroyed Huddersfield Giants almost single-handedly. And he did. But he's getting a lot of pelters, is our Harry, from his cherry and white following. But when you look at his stats, 3 tries from a half-back, that's not bad. 16 assists, 18 rounds in. That's not bad. He's leading the division for attacking kicks. He's leading the division for kicks in general play. I think it was Craig Forth who said, it's all well and good being a great kicker if nobody's chasing. So, these stats are selling you. Harry's doing all right. Don't worry about Harry Smith. Harry Smith's doing all right. When he's been asked to kick, he's got 16 from 23. There aren't bad starts. And then, of course, for different reasons, Frawley, it could be worse, Wigan fans. If you were talking about Matt Frawley, and I'm sorry, Matt, good evening if you're watching. But, if you had Matt Frawley, if it was Matt Frawley in the cherry and white for Wigan, and these were the stats that were being produced by Harry Smith, okay. But Harry Smith's playing well. Marc, are you surprised that Harry Smith, this is the same Harry Smith that I believe the quadruple wouldn't have been done without, genuinely. Just wouldn't have been done without. And if Wigan are going to win anything this year, they need Harry Smith at 7. I don't care what anybody says. Are you surprised at the stick that Harry Smith's getting from his own?
Rugby league fans are very quick to criticise, but it takes them a while to praise. And that's what I think Harry Smith is victim of here. Them stats are amazing. And I think he's had one or two not fantastic games where he's been up to the level where he was. And I think that they just wanted to jump straight on the back of him, just as an excuse for maybe a loss or a poor performance. And I think he's just getting the flack when he doesn't really deserve it, to be honest.
No. I know that Stef, like me, thinks that Harry Smith is a sensational 7. So rather than take up any airtime on something we all agree with, let's agree with something that we haven't given any airtime to yet on the captain's run. We actually shared, and if you haven't seen it yet, please go to our Facebook and go straight to the Huddersfield Giants Facebook. Leroy Cudjoe, 400th appearance for the Huddersfield Giants. There's a wonderful bit of social media that's been put out by the Huddersfield Giants for Leroy Cudjoe. Stef, this man, for me, he epitomises what's great about our sport. We send our very best wishes to Leroy on his 400th, don't we?
Absolutely. And I think, was he the player of the year last year? And we made a comment to say that he should not that he shouldn't be getting it, but his teammates should be looking at themselves and saying he shouldn't be getting it. He shouldn't be carrying that team with coming to the twilight end of his career. But he's so consistent. He's always an 8 out of 10, if not higher. Fantastic player and a model professional as well. You've never seen anything remotely trouble-wise from Leroy Cudjoe. He's been the model professional and absolutely epitomises Huddersfield as a club.
Absolutely. And Adam Walsh, exactly what we did for Huddersfield Giants. We liked, we commented, and we shared for Big Leroy. Adam's imploring all those people watching this to like, comment, and share the captain's run. Well done, Adam. Couldn't agree with you more. Marc, I mean, you must, like us, look at a player like Leroy Cudjoe. What a pro, what a career. It's wonderful that he's getting this accolade. And if you haven't seen it, his kids are there giving a speech as well on the presentation of his shirt. It's wonderful, wonderful TV. Leroy Cudjoe, Marc, your tribute?
Yeah, 400 appearances for Huddersfield. It just shows what kind of a loyal man he is, and for his kids to come up and say stuff about him as well, it just shows that he's a family man and his heart is in the right place. And I think Huddersfield have done right to credit that and just make it known that thank you, basically.
I will just end this bit for Leroy before we move on for Leeds Saints, and I hope the Cowbell Army fans appreciate what I'm about to say. The Bevan Frenchies, the Lockie Millers, the Matt Duffys, the flair players that come in from the NRL, yes, we enjoy them, but the heart of our rugby league teams are players like Leroy Cudjoe. Without Leroy Cudjoe, we just don't have anything. So Leroy, my mate, absolutely, I love watching Leroy Cudjoe. He started on wing and multitude of and now honestly, unbelievable. He's got more faces than many faces on E-Man. Incredible stuff. Right, let's go to Marc's game. Here we go. The big one tomorrow night. Can't wait for this one. The Leeds Rhinos, fresh off the back of getting the Robins temporarily off a perch. Of course, they're still top of Super League, but they were flapping. They're flapping now. No doubt about that. Outstanding stuff from Leeds in this game at the weekend. And now, of course, they've got Saints. Big game, this. Massive game for both sides, of course. 3rd against 5th in the league. It's all on. It is all on. Yeah, incredible. Absolutely incredible. Saints, though, have won their last 6 games at Headingley, Marc. Their last 6. The Rhinos' last win at home against the Saints was a 16-14 Super 8s. Remember that, boys? Super 8s back in 2017. It's a long, long time ago, that. Long time ago. Of course, this season, they have met twice. Leeds, of course, did win at Magic round 17-4, and then it was 18-4 at the Totally Wicked. So 2 pretty close games, in fairness to both of these teams as well. And let's not forget, it was Saints who knocked Leeds out of the Challenge Cup this year. Morgan Knowles is going to make his 250th appearance for Saints. Marc, first, if you can back up KR, you're in dreamland, aren't you, at the end of this weekend?
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's another massive game with Saints, another massive game. I mean, it was only, 2-3 weeks ago when we played them at their place and we lost. So we need to go back and we need to be at home and just win. That's all we need to do. As you mentioned before, we can go from 2nd to 4th. And I think we need to show a little bit of class by backing up the performance from the KR game. And I think it's really going to show what kind of a manager Brad Arthur is and what Leeds' mindset is. So I think this is one of the biggest games of the season for Leeds.
It's definitely a statement game. I think if you can beat, it would keep Saints looking over the shoulder. If Leeds won this, I think they'd be looking up and they would fancy it. They would absolutely, and rightly so, because Wigan, we know, are not in sparkling form at the moment. So why wouldn't they? Looking at the stats, it is a team that Saints enjoy playing, Stef. History tells us that. They got the win at Magic, of course, and of course that's where the wheels fell off to a degree for Saints, and they've got better since then. Can Wellens do it again?
Saints are on a bit of a run themselves, aren't they, at the moment?
Yeah,
and they'll take a lot of confidence from the win at the Totally Wicked Stadium a few weeks ago as well. So that'll be something that'll be on Leeds' mind. They'll be wanting to rectify that performance, because I think that was it was Saints playing well, but it was also a real uncharacteristic performance from Leeds this season. But on the flip side, I think Leeds have beaten. I think they're the only team to beat the top 4. This will be the top 5. So I think they're the only team this year that's done that. So that'll be a phenomenal achievement if they can get the win, and they're more than capable of doing it. I'm sure the crowd at Headingley is going to be a real passionate one, and it's got a big game feel about it, this one. I think it's a really important one for Saints' playoff chances, but also Leeds' top 2 aspirations now, you've got to say.
Great to see that Alex Sharp, whilst of course holding the baby, probably feeding little Millie, our newest member here at Super League Raw with a nice bottle, is tuning in for the captain's run. Well done, Alex. Good to have your company this evening. I hope the little one is well, and of course our very best wishes to the wife. Yes, look, it's a fascinating game. Andy Ackers, Marc, has been, he's not said he's starting, but he's in the 17, saying that he needs to look after Javon O'Connor, who's been doing big minutes and really standing up well in defence. This is a big, big moment for Andy Ackers. It's fair to say that he's not sparkled since coming to Headingley, and he's got to start really sparkling soon, or else this might be a move that hasn't worked out for him. Yeah,
quite possibly. Brad Arthur, I think he's one of them coaches that won't take any rubbish. So if he's not starting to perform soon, I could see himself being dropped quite a lot. But you're completely right to say about Jared O'Connor. He's put a lot of minutes in, and I think he's due a child as well. I think within the next, it's either this week or not this week. Sorry, it's either next week or week after. I think he's due to have his first child, so he's going to have a lot on his mind as well. So that could be a factor as well. Fair play. It's going to be a fascinating game. There's so many great matchups here. I think it's going to be a test for certainly Dagenham up against Hall. I think that's a big one. I'm not going there because of course we highlighted Dagenham last week against Barron, and we like to be different every week in terms of where we think key matchups are. And I actually think a big reason why, there are 2 reasons really, why I think Leeds are really starting to hit the straps is one, I think the return of Callum Watkins has been a masterstroke, but also the return of this man, Cameron Smith, and he's coming up against a player who is also in great form in Morgan Knowles. I think the battle at 13, whether Cam starts or not, or comes off the bench or not, but this is how well Cam Smith is actually playing for the Rhinos. Morgan Knowles' stats there are based on 16 performances. Cam Smith's is based on 9.
So when you look at it that way, I mean, Morgan Knowles is having an exceptional season. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Morgan Knowles isn't playing well. He is. But I think when you factor in that he's played 7 games more than Cam, and Cam has got that level of statistics, it just tells you that Cam Smith, Stef, is back and he's doing what Cam Smith can do.
Yeah, definitely. He's been brilliant this season for me in the games that he's played. And Leeds are a miles better team when he's playing. He takes a lot of pressure off the middles, does a lot of the tough stuff. And I think he's one of the best 13s in the comp. I know some of the Leeds fans disagree and have been a bit disgruntled with him. I find that shocking. I don't get it. But obviously it's different when you're an outsider, isn't it? And you're not seeing them, at the games every week rather than just on TV. So, but no, I think he's been great, and I think Morgan Knowles has been fantastic for Saints too. You can tell he's really getting himself ready to go to the NRL next season. I think he's really upped his game this year. Saints need that. He's a very important player for them, and obviously going to be a real important one to replace. That's going to be a crucial recruitment decision for Saints at the end of this year.
Well, an incredible loose forward that actually got in this prop forward in last week's team, the official team of the week. Just who'd have thought that? But anyway, there you go. That's another story. Marc, Cam Smith, mate. I mean, Stef said from the outside looking in, you're on the inside, mate. I've always been a fan of Cam Smith. So I think he's a very, very intelligent rugby league player. How important has he been since his return for you, mate?
Yeah, he's really performed well this year. I think, just alluding to what Stef said about some Rhinos fans probably disgruntled with him. Last year, he didn't perform as well as what we'd expected. He was captain, and I think he took a lot of that of pressure. And I think that showed on the field, where this year, because he's co-captain and he hasn't got as much responsibility, I think he's actually shone more because he hasn't got that responsibility. So this year, I'm really impressed with Cam Smith. I think he is coming in on a sub, and it is changing the game, and it's changing the dynamics of the game. So he is someone to really, watch out for. So yeah, that's where I think the disgruntledness comes from with Cam Smith.
Yeah, I think it's a bit undeserved, if I'm being honest. I think he's a class player. Another fascinating battle, Marc, is going to be the one between Harry Robertson and Ash Handley. I think that's a belting little tussle on that edge. I think that's going to be really good. And of course, I'm right in thinking on that. Is it going to be Edgell again? He's Riley Lum in the squad.
Riley Lum's in the squad, yeah.
Yeah. Would you want to see Lum back over Edgell?
I really rate Lum. I think he got given a massive opportunity since Makasivo got injured, and I think Lum has really taken that with both hands. He'll obviously have a path of where he wants to be in so many years, but I think he's actually ahead of that path. So yeah, I'd put Lum there personally, because I think Edgell, although he was involved in that fantastic try last week, there were moments in the game where he wasn't. He might have missed a tackle or dropped a ball or something like that. So there was still a few mistakes in him, where Lum just seems to be a bit more consistent.
Steph, for some reason, I didn't write down your prediction for this one on Weekly. Which way did you go? Saints or Leeds?
I think I went Saints 1-8.
Saints 1-8. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, a lot of us were split on this. A lot of us were split. We were going one way or the other. I think Leeds came out on top. Marc, how do you think your Rhinos are going to do on Friday night, mate?
I think 9-17 Leeds.
That's nothing like backing your team. It should be a great what a game. Can't wait. There's something about there's certain games, isn't there? Leeds against Saints at Headingley. Beautiful. This is what we're here for. Greatest game on earth. Come on. And speaking of a beautiful game, not befitting of a red button. No. And we're also hearing in the chat, it's not even going to be shown live. It's going to be at 11 o'clock at night, full game. If that's right. Exactly, Marc. Rugby Football League, unbelievable. Whoever negotiates your TV deals, good Lord.
I'm hoping that isn't right, because for the sake, this is what really winds me up. For the sake of our sport, we want it live, and we want to show how fantastic it was. Last year we had Channel 4 games. Was it last year we had Channel 4 games?
Far better production, mate.
Far better production. It was going on. People talked about the game. People learned the game. People got invested. BBC are putting it on repeat at 11 o'clock at night when most people are in bed, because it's been it's 30 degrees on Saturday. So it's going to be, most people are going to be in bed. What's the? Sorry, it really gets me.
The thing is, I can't believe for one moment that Channel 4 didn't put more bread on the table than the BBC. I can't believe that. I can't. And they did a far better job, to the point where I think it made Sky raise the game because they did such a good job of it. Let's be crystal. Sky has improved, and I think Channel 4 was the rocket that made them improve. I'll be dead straight. And let's be fair, they also nicked their main commentator, who's a breath of fresh air. So for me, if this is true, whoever give these games to the BBC, they need to have a longer look.
It's according to the BBC. I'm just on the BBC website now. The red button apparently is Wimbledon.
There you go. So they're prioritising tennis. There you go.
11:30. We are in the Hull KR.
Exactly.
Night.
So it's nowhere near. It's nowhere near. It's absolutely balmy. Absolutely balmy.
Can I just say, for the sake of like my granddad, who is a Leeds fan and he's got dementia, he can't use that computer like the youngins can. So he's now missing out on the opportunity to watch a game which, he can't watch. Okay, yeah, he might not be able to remember all of the game, but that would take up 2 hours of his afternoon. So
absolutely. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Steph, remind me what's on BBC. So Wimbledon isn't even on BBC Two. What's on BBC Two? Did you say?
Oh, hang on. It says. I think this is the iPlayer replay. The replay is on at 11:30. The game is apparently being showed live.
Right, well, we'll keep it on
iPlayer.
Well, but it's still on the iPlayer. What's on BBC Two, Steph? Did you say?
It's some DIY show or something.
A DIY show is on BBC Two instead of Hull KR against the Leopards. You couldn't write it, folks. You really couldn't. Anyway, let's stop. Look. It's a shame that it's red, but hopefully it's live and people can enjoy this game. We're going to be there. I'm going to be there. Really looking forward to seeing the Roarers. Really looking forward to seeing up the Robins as well. Come and say hello to myself, to Steph, to Bazza Kingston, who's going to be there as well. Come and say hello. It's going to be great to see our Robins and Lee Leopards followers on the day. Great game. Great game, this one. KR 8-2 in the history of Super League. The last 5 have gone the way of the Leopards. Unbelievable. I think, Steph, you were saying you've not beaten since Challenge Cup. Is that right?
Challenge Cup final 2023, yeah.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. But both of them coming in on different fortunes. Of course, a magnificent win for the Leopards over the Wigan Warriors. And, of course, that defeat to the Leeds Rhinos. And we're going to find out a lot from the Robins. The Robins need to bounce back. When they lost to Wigan earlier in the season, they had a favourable couple of fixtures, lower-end teams. And they didn't batter them. They were winning comfortably, but they weren't battering them. This is a far sterner test to come off the back of a loss at home to Leeds, to then go to the LSV. We're going to find out a lot about the Robins here on Saturday. It's going to be a great game. We know that their attack has been superb. We know the defence has been superb. But Leah, they're capable. We've seen that. We've seen it time and time again. Brilliant performance against the Wigan Warriors. Statistically, very, very close, bar, of course, the points for and against. But, hey, that takes in the whole season. We're seeing her progressively hit the straps, is what I would say on this one. As the neutral, Marc, this doesn't need much selling. This should be a blockbuster on Saturday.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a blockbuster, and I think it's going to be quite an intense game. To be quite honest, because both of them have got something to. Lee have obviously coming back off that fantastic win, so they're going to want to carry on with that momentum. But Hull KR lost, and Hull KR, I think this will be a game to show how Hull KR's mindset again is. They got challenged after the Challenge Cup with the win to see how the mindset is. This is another game after the loss. How do they react? Last time when they reacted off the Challenge Cup, it was 116 points in 2 games. I'm not saying it's going to be anywhere near a 40-odd blowout or anything, but I think they're going to really put in a really decent performance against Lee, and Lee need to be on top of their game to get anywhere close to him, I think.
Steph, you would expect, if KR are what we believe they are, and we've been saying all year, we think they're a sparkling team. If KR are what we think we are, there is definitely going to be a reaction to that loss in a positive way on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. I was very fortunate to be on the Robin pod last night and said the same thing. They'll Willie Peters is the kind of coach where he'll not ask for a response; he'll demand it. It's as simple as that. So it's going to be a really interesting game. Obviously, the KR fans will be worried Mikey Lewis isn't playing. That will be a factor in this. 100%. He's the current man of steel. You take him out of any side, it's going to have an impact. But KR are not a one-man team. They've got plenty of players that can fill that role and come in, whether they use Richardson, whether they move Litton there. They could even put Arthur Morg there and put Broadbent at full. I think less is more though for KR in this instance. I think they just need to make the one change, bring Richardson in, and that should set them up pretty decent to face Lee. But it's going to be a great game, and we just hope it's the same playoff intensity as last week, and the atmosphere is as good as it is, and it's an enjoyable game for everyone.
Absolutely, and I think JWH as well in this has got a bit of a point to prove. I think he's going to be filthy with himself over that very poor discipline against your Leeds Rhinos that, of course, got it back to 8 apiece. So I think JWH in this will probably want to recompense for that, because I would expect he will hold himself quite responsible, or certainly a big part as to why they lost that game, because of that indiscipline.
Yeah, definitely. I was talking to Bazza before the game last week, and I was saying about Lasoni being a big impact player, and he says, "Oh well, we've got JWH back to be that impact player," and he didn't touch Lasoni in that game. So I think he's going to be really disappointed with himself. He's going to be disappointed that he got done for dissent, and potentially, we put Hull KR under so much pressure because of that one call. And I think that's what maybe just turned it a little bit into Leeds' favour. So, yeah, he's going to want to make pence for that. And this is why I said I think Hull KR, this will show a lot about Hull KR again. So, yeah, I think the fact that Mike is not there, I don't think that's probably as big as what most people think. It is a big impact, but not as big as most people think, because Hull KR have done it before, where they beat Hull FC, where they lost Mikey early on in the game. And then they adapted, they adjusted, and then obviously blew them out of the water. So I think they can adapt, they can adjust, and I think it's going to be a fairly strong side again.
Absolutely, but what we do know, Steph, is that Mikey Lewis. Let's be conservative. Mikey Lewis's absence is probably worth 6 points on an average day, maybe 8, because that's what his stats tell you. He's either scoring or he's setting one up minimum a game. He's probably doing 2. So it does take, statistics don't lie. It does dilute their attacking shape and what they can actually do. That's a positive for the Lee Leopards, there's no doubt. And of course, the other positive for the Lee Leopards was the fact that you coped really well without Mulhern against the Wigan Warriors. And of course, Bailey Hodgson was just simply unplayable. So, if you can replicate the standards, certainly the second half performance against Wigan, you're in with a shout here. This is not a case of Hull KR just coming into town and walking away with the 2 points. You would hope that they're made to work for them if they are to take them back to Craven Park.
Yeah, I definitely, mate. And the stat is that we've not beaten them since 2023, but I think the even more interesting one is we've not scored a point against them in the last 3 games. So that's crazy when you think of how Lee's attack's been over the last few years. I think that's going to come to an end this week. I'd be amazed if Lee didn't score at least one try against KR, touch wood, this week. I've just completely jinxed us there, haven't I? But no, I think it's going to be a different game, this one, to what especially to the 30-0 we got at the beginning of the season. I think this is a different Lee side now. And I'm expecting a closer game, a lot closer game.
Now, I was going to mention that, but I didn't want to upset me old mucker. So the fact that you've mentioned the fact that you haven't scored those points, I can sleep a bit sounder in my bed.
They did like telling me that on the Robin pod last night, so it was fresh in my memory.
Absolutely, mate. Right, so many fascinating battles. It's going to be a great game of rugby league. We've got 2 wonderful fullbacks in Arthur Morgan, Hodgson. Those 2 are playing some wonderful rugby league football, no doubt about it. We've got so many great little battles right across the field. But for me, the one battle that I'm really, really looking forward to is Big Tessie New going up against Petter Hiku. These 2 incredible players, both in form, again in the conversation for centres for the dream team. They're absolutely in that conversation the way they've been playing this season. And when you put them both side by side, this is how well they're playing, boys. I mean, Tessie New, 15 appearances, Pata Hiku, 16. So just one appearance between them. 5 tries to 7 in Hiku's favour. I mean, look at Hiku's assists, 11. Incredible. But then the advantage that New brings is that he's a bulldozer. He really is. I mean, I said this to Stef. At times, he's almost like a third prop forward. Some of his runs are incredible. So, different types of centre, but equally as impressive. Marc, as a neutral, it's these type of battles before a game that gets us getting the popcorn out and getting ready to sit down and watch rugby league. And this should be a belter, this one.
Yeah, it should be. And I mean, I rate both of these players, and I think for them to go head to head in such a critical game, I think for both teams, is really going to be good. We've just witnessed the state of origin, and I think we're going to have little glimpses of that again this weekend with these two going up against each other, especially with them stats as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Steph, one of the real bonuses for the Lee Leopards this year has been Tessie New, no doubt about that. He's been a breath of fresh air for you. He's coming up against arguably one of the world-class centres in the British game in Pet Hiku. It's going to be a test for him, isn't it?
It'd definitely be a test for him. But I think what I'd say about Tessie is, I mean, Hiku's been brilliant since they moved him from fullback to centre. He's been absolutely phenomenal, KR, and he's at the he's another 8, 9 out of 10 every week. Tessie started a bit slow for me, but he's now getting better and better and better week in, week out. And the big thing, what he does, and it's a very good comparable making the prop forward, his carries, particularly out of the 20 metre, 30 metre, the tough yards, are phenomenal. And the amount of busts he makes in those areas is amazing. And then when you get anywhere near the line, you get him the ball, he's scoring. It takes a lot. Very Conrad Hurrell kind of centre, I would describe him as in Conrad's pomp. So yeah, it's going to be a really interesting battle, this. But one thing what Hiku's got over Tessie is those assists and putting these wingers in. Tessie doesn't tend to do that. He tends to be, when it goes to that side, it's normally a miss-out pass by Lamb, hence why his assists are so high. But yeah, two different styles of play, two different where they play the centre position, but should be an intriguing battle going into this one.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. And I think it's a really good point that the 1,995 metres that Hiku, they're probably your more traditional centre winger stroke metres. It's almost hard meters, the 2001-15. I mean, he really does put a shift in down the middle. He's been a breath of fresh air, mate. He's been a real quality addition, not only to the Lee Leopards, but the British Super League, without question. Marc, this is a real tough one to call. We don't know how KR are going to react to that loss. Will they overplay? Will they try and overcompensate? Lee, can they go again? And if they did, what would that mean for the Lee Leopards charge in 2025? It's a real fascinating one. I'm just delighted as a neutral. I'm going to be there around some wonderful company. From your perspective, Marc, go on. I know you've got to upset some of your member friends. Which way are you going and why?
Sorry, Steph. Lee KR 917.
He definitely said Lee 917.
No, KR 917. I think I'm just going off basically how Hull KR reacted from the Challenge Cup final.
But they won it, Marc. But they won it.
They did win it, but it was the professionalism after the game. So the 2 games after. I didn't expect that, and I don't think anybody else expected that. And it just shows that they don't let results either go to their head or get pulled down by it. So I think it'll be KR 917.
Well, we've got Kerry Robinson. Hello, Kerry. Good evening to you in the chat, saying that she thinks it'll be Jez Litton that goes in at the halves. And you might be right. But one thing I think, Kerry, that I don't see happening, Richardson will not be fullback unless you know something about Arthur Morg's fitness. Arthur Morg is not being replaced at 1 for Danny Richardson. Either Danny's going to be in the halves or he's on the bench. He's certainly not going to full back. Right, we now go to this little one. Just wanted to quickly mention this for anybody who's joining us this evening who is unaware and is not a member. and that is the England versus Australia game 2 here at Super League Raw. We've got a pair of tickets as part of our competition for the England-Australia game. You can get yourselves to that game at Everton Stadium on the 1st of November. It's £10 for 10 entries, £10 for 10 entries. Go to our website, www.superleagueraw.com, to get your entries. 2 lucky people will be joining us at the second Ashes game at Everton. It could be you, with all proceeds going to Grassroots Rugby League in 2026. So please do get involved in that. Good luck. You've got a better chance of winning that than perhaps winning a tenner on the lottery, and your money's going back into Grassroots Rugby League. So what is there not to like about that? Outstanding stuff. Like I say, www.superleagueraw.com. Right, we now go to Perpignan. Warrington, of course, taking on the Catalan Dragons this coming Saturday evening. This should be a good game for, again, probably all the wrong reasons. But before we do it, forgotten again, some massive potential milestones taking place at Leeds. So we'll come back to that in a moment. Josh Charnley, just one try to be 27th place in the all-time try scorers. He also needs one more try for 250 in Super League, does our Josh. Jesse Sue, he'll be making his 250th career appearance this weekend. Tom Davies, 200 career appearances. Reece Martin, if he gets 10 points, unlikely with Barton Morg kicking, or at least Stef will be open. It's unlikely because he's not kicking. But once he gets those 10 points, it'll be 1,000 for Martin. And Tom Davies, if he got a hat-trick, he's got a couple of them already this season, he will be on 100 in his Super League career. So some massive milestones there to keep an eye out on for at the Lee Sports Village this weekend. Right, one draw between these two, Warrington and Catalan, 18-26 in Warrington's favour. The last 5-3-2 in the favour of the Catalan Dragons. Of course, Catalan coming off the back of a massive spanking courtesy of Wakefield Trinity last weekend. Warrington have got better for and against stats. Many would have thought that though would have been a lot better than they are this season for Warrington. The bottom line is here, guys, for me, and it is the bottom line. I've not done any key matchup, and the reason I've not done any key matchup is this is a 17-man issue for both squads, and it's two. You couldn't pick a battle because you don't know who's turning up and who's not. And that's the reality of the situation. You just haven't got a clue which Warrington team's turning up or which Catalan Dragons team is turning up. It's just too hard to call. It could go either way, and it could be pretty drab, or it could be absolutely like we saw Leeds against probably the Heat will probably not make it that, but it could just be a free-flowing game where it's just blow for blow. I don't know how to call this, so somebody help me out. Marc, what do you make of this game? It really is a head scratcher in terms of how this is going to go.
Yeah, I think it's going to go wire, to be honest, because the weather, believe it or not, is actually cooler than in England than in England this weekend. It's going to be about 27, 26 degrees, but it's also going to be stormy, and I think that'll play into Wire's advantage a little bit. So yeah, I think Warrington are going to have the edge on this one. Definitely, just because of the weather and the factors around it.
I mean, Stef, do you agree with me? You just can't. It's very difficult. I mean, the other games, it's easy because, even like, it's a bit easier to pick some key battles because they're so... genuinely, you don't know which Warrington and which Catalan you're getting from one week to the next. It's a proper toss a coin, isn't it?
It is. If the Catalan side who, convincingly beat Huddersfield, if they turn up and Warrington play like they did against Salford, Catalan will win. It's simple as that. But if Warrington play like they did against FC, where they showed a bit more about them, then and Catalan play like they did against Wakefield, Warrington will win. So it's a pundit's nightmare. I'd describe this as. It's very difficult, and but what it does do is it makes me want to watch it. It makes me want to watch it to see which side turns up for each one, and it's a very intriguing game. Some strong squads there, so it's game on, isn't it? It's who wants it more, I think, for me, this one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's who wants it more. And of course, Warrington now are in playoff rugby league now. They just can't afford to lose a game like this, especially when you consider Catalan's form this season. Warrington lose this, it's over. They have to win this. Interesting. I don't know if you saw the news that your Knights have made a play for Paul Vaughan, which has come from complete left field. I didn't see that one coming. That's, again, with the moving and shaking, perhaps 14 teams. Can you read anything into that from a York Knight perspective?
It makes you think that they may know something that's not officially been announced, that, doesn't it?
It's a big play.
It's a very big play for one, a big earner in Super League as well. So he will not be, to move all his family as well up to York. It would have to be a very, very attractive offer for Paul to go. Because, from our conversations, Dave, I believe you were under the impression he was going to be signing an extension.
My understanding is he's staying on for next year, but maybe it's a bit of clickbait. I don't know, but it was a surprising one because I didn't see that one coming. But yeah, you're right. What does it say? Does people know? But I tell you what, it's a nice part of the world to go to. It's a lovely place, York. Gorgeous. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Betty's Tea Rooms in Harrogate. I could see you with your pink gown.
Slattery's Tea Rooms, is that in
Betty's Tea Room?
Betty's.
You get your little pinky out with your fresh tea, and I could just see you with your little tray and your afternoon tea, Stef, with your cucumber sandwiches. Your butler brings them to you every week, doesn't he? You like your cucumbers for.
I do like an afternoon. I was like me scone with me Cornish cream on it.
Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah, I mean, the amount of time Stef has come onto the captain's run and said, "You've got someone on the side of your mouth there." He's had to lick his cream away. This man knows how to dine. He's a man. He is a man. Anyway, we digress. Yeah, fascinating game. Which Warrington's going to turn up? All we know is that Warrington desperately need to turn up, or it's pretty much season over. Right, okay. It is, of course, the captain's run. It is. He had a shocker last week. Absolutely. Well, he actually did, not in the fivefold. He did on his tries. His fivefold was a very, very good effort indeed. Let's see what Mr. Saylor's got for us this week.
Are you sick and tired of winning your bets every week? Want to contribute to the bookies' Christmas party? The bets to ignore when predicting the score. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Bet Stef.
Yes, so this week's best Stef, I have gone a bit left field with some of these, some not handicapped, some straight outright wins, and maybe some ones people will raise a few eyebrows, even more so this week. So the first one, I've gone Wakefield outright win tonight. I think they're gonna beat FC, so I didn't need any handicap. I think the books actually give Wakefield a bit of a start on this one, which was surprising. But no, I've gone Wakefield outright win. I've gone St Helens outright win at Leeds as well. I have predicted them 1-8, so I thought, why not go for the outright to get a bit of slightly inflated odds on that one. Huddersfield +20. I think the way Huddersfield have been playing recently and the way Wigan have been playing, that's quite a bit of a cushion there for Huddersfield. So I've backed Huddersfield +20 on that one. Next one, Lee VKR. Lee, I've got a 6-star. I'm hoping it's more hope than expectation. This one, it's going to be a real close game, maybe even a golden pointer we could see in this one. So I'm not saying Hooker won't win, but Lee with a 6-star, I'm hoping that might just get us over the line on the handicap bet. And then I've gone Catalan outright. I think the home advantage on this one is going to be crucial. And if that team that beat Huddersfield turn up and the Warrington team that played against Salford, then that could very well ring true. So I've got an outright Catalan win. So if you bet on all those 5, you're getting brilliant odds on this one, 51-1. So yeah, really, really attractive one on the accumulator. And then on the anytime try scorer, Lachlan Walmsley, great form for Wakefield. I expect him to go in tonight against FC. He's at 2.4-1. Harry Robertson, I think he's due a try for Saints, been playing well. I just feel that's the type of game where he could get over against Leeds for a try. Another good value at 3.6 for Harry. And George Flanagan, he was the only one that came in last week. I thought I'd stand by him. It's going to be a tough ask for him to get a try over at the Brick Community Stadium. But I believe in this young lad. I think he's a cracking player. So another one at fantastic odds at 4-1 to it for an anytime try. So you bet on those 3 are really good. 34-1. So two big accumulators this week. Some really, really high odds, but that's probably a reflection of the picks.
Well done, Mr. Sale. Well done. Outstanding stuff there from Stef. As always, we will keep a close eye on them. And, of course, we will unpack them on Round Unpacked. I'll bring Stef back in. People see enough of me. There you go. Right, this are the lineups for tonight. Before we go off air, we, as always, taking you right up to the Sky production on a Thursday night. Nobody does it like Super League Raw does it. And these are the teams, starting with Hull FC, Hardacre at full-back, on the wings, Barron and Martin, as always. In the centre positions, Rapana and Lytton. No Tom Briscoe in there. And if you actually look down the list, he's actually the 18th man, which is interesting. Tom, he misses out this week. Cade Cust and Aidan Caesar in the halves. Urban SAS and Leon Knight, we've already covered them this evening with Burrett at hooker. No surprises there. Second row is a Cartwright and Chamberlain, as it was last week. And Aidan will start at loose forward. On the bench, Jack Ashworth, Brad Fash, Jack Charles again, and Sam Esser. No major surprises there, chaps, for me. Any surprises for FC before we go to Wakefield, boys? Are pretty much what you expected?
It'd be interesting to see where they bring Jack Charles on, in that one. Whether, if things are going well for FC, will they even use him? That'd be the, it's very, very strange for a back, especially a half, to be on the bench. It's an unusual one. So whether that'll come back to bite FC in terms of not going with 4 forwards on the bench, will remain and see.
Obviously, Stef had inside knowledge. No Tom Johnstone this evening, but Lachlan Walmsley is there, another man who has got an extended contract. Many congratulations to Lachlan, and deservedly so. He's been in great form for Wakefield Trinity. At full-back, the man that we featured earlier in the show, Josh Rourke. On the wings will be Walmsley and Jaden Myers. He's on the bench. Curry Hall, who I felt had a really good game against the Catalan Dragons, and Cam Scott Cam Scott returning to the MKM. A couple of players returning to the MKM tonight, of course, there. In the house, he's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Max Jowett at standoff, Mason Leno as well. I think advantage in the halves for me. I think they're in better form, perhaps, than Cust and Caesar. McMeekin and Hamlin Yuli. Now, he for me was a bonus, absolute bonus in that Catalan game, was Caleb. I thought he was really good value. And what that's allowing them to do, Mark, is bring Caius Fiatilli off the bench. And that is quite a frightening prospect. Caius Fiatilli coming on after 25 minutes. That is a potent weapon, isn't it, for Darryl Powell?
Yeah, definitely. Fresh set of legs for Caius Fiatilli. Yeah, definitely. That's going to be a massive impact player. And we were looking at stats earlier. He's only going to improve on them. So for him to come on as an impact player, I think that's a masterstroke, that.
Absolutely. Josh Griffin, who of course was in our team of the week last week, he's there, as is Isaiah Regano. I think he's been steady away actually, Isaiah, this year. And of course Jay Pitts, Stef. Jay Pitts, absolute legend of a player, playing some wonderful rugby league for Wakey this year. On the bench, Seth Nicotimo, who, again, I think he was my one to watch. I want to see a bit more from Seth, I have to say, from the start of the season. Tom Doyle, Harvey Smith, of course, who is the backup hooker, and Caius Fiatilli on the bench. Steph, pretty much what we expected. Tom Johnstone, we said this on week, he's been steady away. But I think Lachlan Walmsley's arguably been the most informed or the most potent and more dangerous of the two this year.
Yeah, I'm just glad they've stuck with their Rourke, Jowett and Leno. And I think the good thing for Wakefield here, where they should take a bit of confidence going into tonight, is that spine of Rourke, Jowett, Leno, Hood and Pitts, I think, have been steady, really, really strong. I think that's probably their best spine they can put out to get all the players in the team at this moment in time. So I think that's going to be a big factor in tonight's game, and probably emphasises why I do think Trinity are going to have too much for FC this evening.
Fantastic. Do you want to be a part of the Captain's Run? Do you want to be a part of the Final Whistle podcast? Become a member today. Hopefully you've enjoyed another beautiful build-up show to the greatest game on earth, the Betfred Super League, that will be kicking off in half an hour, round number 18. We took you right up to the Sky production. But before you go anywhere, do watch the end credits, because that'll tell you all the great content that is coming your way, courtesy of Super League Raw this week. On behalf of myself and Steph, great to have Marc Hill with us this evening. Marc, have you enjoyed your debut on the Captain?
Yeah, loved it. Absolutely loved it. I've been a bit nervous at times and a bit nervous coming into it. But yeah, it's a fantastic experience. Definitely worth my membership.
Good man. We will, of course, have you back, I'm sure, another time on the Captain's Run. But, of course, Marc will be with us on Sunday for the Final Whistle. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy round number 18. There's some belting games, isn't there? We will see you on Sunday. Bye for now.